So some other possible things or some other facts of this story. I recently read a book about it and I'm pretty excited. So one thing to consider is that not only did she not know that this happened, Henrietta and her family didn't find out until about the 1970s, so a good 20 years after her death, and were never compensated for this. So, you know, scientists were making money off of selling these cells, and her family didn't get any of it. And another thing, you know, from DNA is like your genetic fingerprint. It has all the information about who you are as a human. And researchers are sequencing her DNA. They're learning all of the different things about her genes and who she is. And since we pass our genes to our offspring, that means that scientists everywhere can learn things about her children that the children don't even know and know that they have. So there's just a lot of privacy information going on here. One thing to kind of help you out, I want to tell you a story of Henrietta's youngest daughter, Deborah. Deborah happened to be 1 year old when Deborah ended up passing away from cervical cancer at 31. And this is some kind of quotes that Deborah has, kind of showing her thoughts on the matter. So one thing she says is that she always thought it was strange. If our mother cells done so much for medicine, how come her family can't afford to see no doctors? So that goes to show that they weren't compensated in any way. They're struggling to get medical treatment and help, even though her mother's cells are instrumental for developing all these vaccines and treatments themselves. And then lastly, you would think that maybe this family would be pretty hardened and pretty upset about the situation. She says, truth be told, I can't get mad at science because it helped people live. And I'd be a mess without it, she jokes. But I'm a walking drugstore. I can't say nothing bad about science, but I won't lie. I would like some health insurance so I don't have to, you know, I don't have to pay for all that money every month for drugs that my mother's cells probably helped make. So this kind of, you know, illustrates this lack of compensation, but also this ethical dilemma that you have these cells that did benefit society, but they were taken without her consent. So where do they fall? Like, should we take them out of cycle because they were unethically taken from Deborah? Or do we keep them because of the benefit that they've given to society? This isn't the only unethical kind of thing going on in the early 1900s. We also have the Tuskegee experiment, which is a famous 40-year-long study. So just for perspective, it lasted longer than Henrietta's full life. And it was taking place in Tuskegee University in Alabama. It was aimed to study the progression of syphilis. However, they only enrolled illiterate, poor Black males. They found an effective treatment after this. However, the men who participated in the study didn't get any of the treatment. So they went through all of this kind of hardship in order to study this drug, but didn't get to actually like benefit out of it. So I want to ask the same question. I'm going to show you a little video in a second, so maybe hang on to this thought. What do you think is wrong here? What are some issues that wouldn't pass nowadays? So let's listen to someone else explain some more details about this particular case.
This was not the case in 1932, when the Tuskegee Institute began a 40-year-long study on over 600 Black men. Under the guise of free medical care, the men were secretly enrolled in a study to observe the long-term progression of syphilis. Over 300 of the men enrolled had the disease, but researchers failed to treat them with anything but fake or innocuous medicines like aspirin, even after it became clear that penicillin was a highly effective treatment for the disease. Late-stage symptoms of syphilis include serious neurological and cardiovascular problems, yet the Institute allowed the study to go on. Some wives and kids also contracted syphilis. In 1972, public outrage caused the study to close down when news of unethical conditions was leaked to the media.
Shout out to Crash Course for providing some awesome psychology overviews. So you're gonna see a variety of Crash Course videos and clips that I'll show. But I highly recommend seeking them out on YouTube for additional information about a lot of the topics that we'll cover. And in general, with all of your classes you take, they're wonderful.